Eagles at Giants Sunday NFL. Marco, who do you like and why?
I like the over in this game, RJ, and this is a situation where, one, I think the Philadelphia defense is overrated. I think they got exposed a little bit last week in Dallas, and remember, Dallas did that without Des Bryant last week in the lineup. And the Giants, how are they going to stop Michael Vick? Nobody has been able to stop Michael Vick yet, and they're averaging in the last 6 games.
How much did we bet? I forgot about that bet. I took the Cowboys, right?
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Look at you.
Did you really go against my best bet?
You remember I took the 3.5.
Yeah, you did. Wow. Okay, we'll have to get to that a little
That
later.
was a backdoor cover, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very backdoor cover. You don't know
I'm
how
sorry,
much
you
that
go
one
ahead.
hurt. Philadelphia, last 6 games, they've won 5 of the last 6, and they're averaging 26 points or more in all of those games. I like this game to go over. The Giants are winning. Give them credit last week. They shut down Minnesota, but really the Vikings, that was just a horrible situation for the Vikings on Monday night. The question marks surrounding Favre all week, then the last-minute change of venue, which ended up actually hurting the Vikings more than it did the Giants because, I mean, Minnesota had to, they didn't know where they were playing until 10 o'clock at night, and then, they're all planned and game planned. They're sitting at the hotel and had to move to go to Detroit.
Kind of had that feel of the old, you think of the NFL as always this elite brand and this professional league, but you hear stories in the 50s and 60s, and they'd be playing at state fairs, and there wouldn't be an end zone, like no goalpost on one side. It kind of had that feel of, it was just like where can we, almost on Friday Night Lights. I don't know if you watch that, but they had a state championship game or whatever, and they had it in a cow field.
Yeah. No shot on our buddy JD in Johnny Detroit in Michigan, but some of the free tickets that they were giving out, to fill the thing, people were saying that homeless people were coming in to use the tickets to get warm for the game.
Well, did you hear that on Scott Van Pelt? Because then they said something like they were up in the top row eating popcorn like pigeons.
Yeah,
I personally didn't think that was politically correct, but hey, that's fine. All right.
But admit it, you chuckled.
I can't remember. There was no camera on me. I will say that. How do you handicap that disruption, though, on the Giants side for this week? Is they had, from what I understood, the weather, there was travel issues with that. And like you said, they've had one less day of prep. That's a negative for the Giants, wouldn't you say?
For sure, but the fact, like we talked in an earlier video, they are playing a team. They play twice a year, so they know them. And
so the prep time isn't quite as valuable.
Right. And the Giants, you've got the 2 best teams, in the NFC East. Obviously, they're tied for first place, but really, these are 2 of the best teams in the NFC, period. Right now with the injury to Green Bay, their stock has dropped, and then you got Atlanta and New Orleans. This decides the NFC East, and this is a game.
So, if the Giants win, it doesn't decide the NFC East.
It doesn't decide. They'll have a 1-game lead, but if Philly wins it, the division's over.
All right, so
because they'll have a 1-game lead, but they have swept the series.
Vegas had the Eagles as the 2nd best team as of last week. The new poll's not out, and it'd be hard to say that performance against the Cowboys lowered their stock. So does that feel right to you?
I feel Philadelphia, and I was all over Philly last week, and I felt that they outplayed Dallas. It came down to, once again, when you're at the end of a game and you're up 10 and laying 3.5.
Because, am I not mistaken? What was the score entering the 4th quarter?
Entering the 4th quarter, they got a turnover, Dallas, and took a quick lead, but Philly came right back.
Yeah, but
Dallas never stopped Philly in that game. Philly stopped themselves in that game.
This is what you... Jesus God! If you go to that level, every team. That's why every true fan thinks their team is better than their record, because they forget. Like the Steelers, I don't really think about the Miami game. They could have lost that. I don't really think about the fact that Cincinnati was down on the 9-yard line in the first meeting. I think against the Saints, if Heath Miller didn't fumble, can you really? I think you actually, even after 31 years, you've got room to improve. And I'll finish my point before you jump in, is I think you always see it from your perspective, which can be dangerous for a handicapper. I get that at a certain point of that game. Now, you had the Texans on a big play on Monday night. Once it went to, first of all, once the Texans scored, the odds of you covering that were well past 75%. because it's only 50% or less that they make the two-point conversion. Then you cover that. Then assume if it's Houston would have to be at least 50% in overtime. So I totally agree. You were 75-25 to cover that game. But someone who had Baltimore could have said, well, I'm up 21 points with 8 minutes left or whatever it was, or 19 points or whatever, and I am in a position where I should win 75%. Yeah. Throughout a game, there's going to be many times that one team's 80% and then it turns around. Don't you think it's dangerous to look at that Eagles game and act like it was some horrible beat?
Well, I understand what you're saying, RJ, but go back to the key play. The 4th and 1 for Philly when they kicked the field goal with 4-something left in the game to go up 10. By the book, that's what they're supposed to do because they're up 7. You have to make it a 2-possession game. If it wasn't that late in the 4th quarter, I guarantee you Andy Reid goes on 4th and 1. He did it earlier in the game. He went on 4th and 2.
But we're talking about coaching decisions that are reasonable in each direction. And that's, your point is because of that coaching decision, it's like the game was, the line was 3.5. Probably that was the right line. Philly's going to cover 5 or 6 out of 10. Dallas is going to cover 5 or 6 out of 10. But to make it where Philly's performance was exceeded expectations last week and they didn't cover, that's kind of hard to do. And again, to me, that's what you and I...
Offensively, they did everything I expected them to do in the game. I was a little bit disappointed in their defense, and it's why I'm coming with the over this week.
And that's my point is, I'm not questioning that assessment. I'm saying let's not make the Eagles out to be where they overperformed last week just because you bet them. They didn't overperform. They probably performed up to expectation. That's why it was within a half a point of the line. All right, so... Yeah, I don't know if I think there's that sexy factor with Vic as a quarterback that's putting a premium on. I look to fade the Eagles every chance I get with Vic, but I got to tell you, the fact that Vegas has him second makes me think I might be missing something. So, I mean, where do you have the Eagles at in the NFL?
In the NFC, I have them as one of the top 3 teams. I have 3 teams in the NFC that I like. I think it's Philadelphia. I think it's Atlanta. And then I'm really a coin toss between the Giants and the Saints next. I don't like the Saints. I don't like the Saints.
Saints and Giants on a neutral is pick 'em. Boy, I'd be getting the rubber bands out for that one. I love the Saints.
What I don't like is looking at the teams. I don't like the defense on the Saints. That's their Achilles heel. I don't like that. I think the Giants are a better team built for the playoffs where they can...
Than the defending Super Bowl champions.
They run the ball and they can play a little. They can play some defense. But against Vic, they're going to have troubles. Vic just stretches the field on you.
All right, give us your projection.
I've got it. I actually have the Giants winning the game 28-27, going over. I think both teams are going to be going up and down the field in this one. The first game went under. I think the Giants will make some adjustments on their offensive end, but I still just don't see them shutting Vic down.
A few quick points. Philly has covered only 2 of 8 against winning teams. I think that they're a type of team that can blow out the bad teams and seemingly have trouble against the better teams, and the numbers back that up. Though I don't like the Giants at home. Their home field isn't as strong as... They're actually a very good road team. They've only covered 3 of 11 as a home favorite, which isn't so great. And actually in this series, and remember, we got the 2 coaches that have been here a while on both teams. Eagles have covered 5 straight.
One note on the Giants' last 3-game winning streak, they have benefited their defense. No, you can say this, is this lucky or is it good defense? Turnover margin's been 9-3 in favor of the Giants during those 3 games.
To me, in general, I think turnovers even out. There's occasional differences or occasional exceptions to that. Is that how you look at it typically?
I don't handicap a game trying to base things on that because it is a great equalizer. But you're right. They're supposed to equal out. But every year you'll see one team at the end of the year that's plus double digits on turnovers, an ungodly number.
It's your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with Marco and me. And next up, we're going to Green Bay at New England Sunday Night Football.